we have students from Karabakh region send it to me. Would like to share with you something from friend from University of Karabakh. The floor for you.
Hi everyone, thank you so much, Nurhan. Let me introduce myself. My name is Astrid Babayan. I study at Artsakh State University. I'm a student of law department. If you know, there was a war in Artsakh also in 2020 from September 27 to November 9, and during the war and although after the war, Azerbaijani armed forces vandalized the churches, cross-stones, and even cemeteries. For example, Ghazan Chetsotsk church in Armenian ancient city Shushi, and also church called we call Kanat Sham, and if we translate it into English, it sounds green church. And Kanat Sham today is a cafe. I live in Stepanaker today, but I am from Martakert region, from village Noragestan. I will speak about my village. During the displacement, we are displaced, and that's why I live in Stepanaker. During the displacement, my fellow villagers also removed the cross stone, Khachkar in Armenian we say, from the village, so that it wouldn't be subjected by Azerbaijani vandalism, just as they did in Agnakhpur village of Askerani region. I can show some photographs. Now the Khachkar is in Yerablur in Armenia, where our hero boys are also buried. In the crossstone, there are written the names of 40 died soldiers. They were died in Artsakh First War. Probably many of you know that even now the village Yevtsahov of Shushi region is under the risk. My mother is from that village, and my grandparents are buried there. Through videos, Azerbaijan proudly shows how it deals with cemeteries. It's natural that if you see the tombstone of your relatives in such a video, you will be not able to bear it. And as you speak about your luxing competitions from IHL, I would like to say that my team from our university, me and two other boys from Artsakh State University, won in international moot court competition, which was organized by International Committee of the Red Cross. And in October, we will participate in Friedrich Martens moot court in Russia. I can say I have to thank speakers, first of all, for detailed research and clear estimates. I can say from my own experience that at that age, when you just starting to make to take steps in the field of science, doing research on such a complex and complicated topic is hard and difficult. Thank you, Nurhan. Thank you to your organization, Maat, for Peace, Development and Human Rights, for taking us opportunities like this.
Thank you very much. No worries. Thank you very much for your contribution. I see that we had other questions. However, due to time constraints, we will have to move on to our next panel. I would like to say if Ivone would like to answer this question in private, if he would like to share his email to speak later on with the Mariam. Thank you so much. That being said, I would like to thank all our panelists and all of those watching for their questions, for their attention and their time. That being said, I would like to pass the floor to Aya Hazi, which will be our moderator for our next session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Felipe. Hello, everyone. I am Aya Ghazi. I've had the honor to be one of the researchers at this research project, and I also had the honor to begin the very beginning of the cooperation with the research project. It's amazing that it's finally going to the light, and it's amazing that it's finally out there, and we can actually see the outcome after like a really long time. It's just amazing. I'm very excited. Okay, that's being said, I will introduce myself when my time comes. This session will be mainly us, the researchers, talking about the obstacles that we face, the research itself, the core issues at the research, one by one, and then that would be it. Okay, let's begin with Felipe to talk about the research at the beginning. Just let me have the honor to introduce you first. Felipe Capato is a member of the Youth for the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons and a volunteer for the International Campaign for the Abolishment of Nuclear Weapons, who performs research on nuclear disarmament and nuclear justice and international humanitarian law. He holds a Bachelor of Law from the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul. And welcome, please start.
Thank you very much, Aya. Well, I didn't expect to be the first on the line, but all right. So I must agree that this was a very long process that took us here, and so much has changed for us personally. Since our project started, I think it was 2020, mid-2020 something. Since that time, I have graduated and returned to the same university as a master's student. So, wow, that has been such change. I would like to say about this research, there is something really great that happened during the course of the research, as it truly was a learning opportunity, because our conclusion was something that I didn't even envision when we drew our first hypothesis. Because I didn't even know about systemic integration when we started this. I found out about this technique for solving legal or normative conflicts when kind of by accident when I was researching about lex specialis. So it was a true learning opportunity, and I hope that our readers, when they finish reading our article, that they feel just as satisfied as I did when we got to our conclusions. So on to our findings. First of all, just some context, I actually did like most of the final parts, so I can't really speak with the most propriety about the initial parts of the article. If one of my colleagues would like to talk about that afterwards and compliment me, please. But basically, we faced ourselves with a little apparent conflict between the Hague regulations of 1954 and the additional protocols to the Geneva Conventions of 1977. And that was, it seemed that there was a different threshold for protection of cultural property between these two conventions. One of them allowing for exceptions in cases of military necessity, and the other one was more strict in its protection of cultural property. So we got to investigating, all right, so it seems like there are two conventions saying different things. And if we have a state that is party to both of them, how do we solve this apparent conflict? Which one of these do we apply? And there are many possible ways that we investigated. One of our first hypotheses involved lex protector, which is a technique derived from the pro personae principle of human rights law. This technique posits that the most protective norm would derogate from the least protective norm. So basically, in between these two, we will favor that which protected cultural property the most. However, we found that the use of this technique in IHL was very contained to very few specific cases in the Inter-American Court of Human Rights. And the court itself has moved away from it. So lex protector has fallen out of practice before it could even crystallize as a major conflict solving technique. And because of that, there are even few studies on this technique itself. So when we came to more popular conflict solving techniques, such as lex posterior and lex specialis, which I believe most law students, I know that not all of us here are law students or have a law background, but when we do study law, I think that those two are the ones we are most used to hearing about. Lex posterior posits that the more recently approved rule will derogate from the older one. So favor the most recent one, move the old one away. However, scholars have generally considered that the use of lex posterior limits itself to situations in which both norms have the same degree of generality, which is not the case for our object of study. So the technique that is most often referred to by international courts when dealing with these normative conflicts is actually lex specialis, which posits that the more specific norm will derogate from the more general one. Sounds simple enough, right? The problem is that even though courts cite the name lex specialis, when we look into how they have actually applied the technique, they're doing something different. There is no actual derogation going on, which brings us to systemic integration, which is what really happened in actuality. The ICJ has multiple times, especially in cases in which there is a norm from IHL conflicting with a norm from human rights law. They have generally invoked the name of lex specialis, but what they actually do is integrate those two normative systems. Systemic integration is a technique that suggests that rather than derogating norms in search for the one true norm, we should seek to harmonize the multiple norms to which a state has bound itself. Except in cases of blatant contradiction between two norms or more, we should seek their commonalities and understand them as part of a process which progressively codifies the subject matter as a system. When we apply this line of thought into our object of study, those two conventions talking about the protection of cultural property, we realize that the conflict is more apparent than factual, and the treaties as they were written indicate a similar idea was behind them. The Article 36 of the Hague Regulations actually stipulates that the regulations will be supplementary to former conventions. So they are already building up on prior norms. And the Article 53 of Additional Protocol number 1 to the Geneva Conventions actually specifically says that this article is without prejudice to the provisions of the Hague Regulations. So it specifically states that it was not meant to contradict the other. Both passages show a constructive mindset was in place. These norms are not at all nullifying each other. So when the additional protocol says that there is an exception when the opposing party uses a cultural object in support of military efforts, that's not so much different from when the Hague regulations stipulate an exception in case of military necessity. That being said, in my view, the conclusion that I got to was that what a military commander on the field must understand is that attacks upon cultural property are strictly prohibited unless the opposing party uses it in support of the military effort, in which case an attack becomes legal, but only in so much as to respond to a determinate military necessity, when the damages will be proportional to the military advantage to be gained, and using the least damaging means and methods of warfare available. So, and when it comes to the challenges that came with performing this research, I could cite the issue of the rather arcane language of international law, especially when it comes to the theory behind principles for solving normative conflicts. I have been reading legalese for almost a decade now, and I still struggle with the language. And I can only imagine what it feels like to somebody who doesn't have a background in law. When I try to explain to my parents what I have been doing for the last month, I can almost hear the sound of the gears turning inside their heads as they try to understand something that I'm talking about. So this really highlights the need for us to share knowledge of international humanitarian law and to get down to the level of people who don't have a law background, and to simplify this and to think about strategies to disseminate international humanitarian law. Other problems that I can cite were, of course, the difference in time zones, which offset communication quite a bit. But also the fact that we were doing this research as volunteers, which means that we were using our free time for this. And each person's free time looks very different from the other. Each of us was preoccupied with so many other things behind the scenes, and we were often so drained that this certainly impacted the quality of the work. But because being an international law researcher in their early career is not an easy thing. We give years of our work out of passion, and basically because of hope for many things: hope to grow as people, hope to be heard, hope to contribute in strengthening our global community, and hope to make a difference. So despite the exhaustion, despite how challenging to ourselves it is to tackle such serious topics at such a young age, we gave this our all. And we managed to come together to produce a concise paper that has, to me, undoubtedly taught me a lot in the process of writing it. And I can only hope that this learning process spills over a little to those who come to read it. I hope that it is a satisfactory experience to those who come across our article and who read it. That being said, I have talked enough, and I must pass the floor to one of my colleagues. Please, Aya, you can.
Thank you so much.
Go on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was incredibly touching and into the point in every way. Thank you so much. Okay, now that being said, now we will move to our next speaker / moderator, Lobna. Just with me. So
okay.
And introduce. Let me introduce you first. Lubna is a graduate from Ain Shams University of 2020. She's working now as a legal officer in St. Andrews for Refugee Service Stores in Cairo. She participated in the John Beckley competition for international humanitarian law in 2021. She also participated in the JASIP competition in 22. Go ahead, Governor.
Okay, thank you, Aya. Thank you, everyone, for attending the session today. I'm so happy that we're now publishing the paper finally after so long. But yeah, I'm so happy, and I would like to thank everyone, my colleagues, the IHL clinic people, Nurhan, Maat, and also I would like to thank the very, very appreciative guests who helped us throughout the paper, Ms. Monia, Ms. Mashira, Professor Ebony, Professor Emiliano, and Professor Ahmed from Iraq. Really, really appreciating what you have done and your time and your knowledge that you shared with us. Thank you so much. I think Felipe covered everything practical or technical about the paper. I'm so happy for this because we're running out of time. So I will just mention a few points that I have experienced during the writing this research. This research was the internship itself in Maat was very insightful for me because in university we did not get in contact a lot with IHL or international humanitarian law, and it was very eye-opening for me how this field is very important. So actually, basically after this this research, during this research, I felt like I want to pursue with this thing, and I actually, with Aya and other colleagues, we participated in John Beckley. It was amazing. It was the first Egyptian team to participate in this competition, and we learned a lot about it. And I think we're thinking about pursuing a career in IHL. So I think, as many guests today mentioned, the importance of IHL, and especially the importance of IHL in Arab world, because many armed conflicts happen here and we don't have the knowledge, the legal knowledge or the humanitarian knowledge to tackle the issues that we're having. And I think so those initiatives help us to understand more and get more in contact with those issues. Also, because the topic of the paper we wrote was intersecting between international humanitarian law and international human rights law, and also because we are teams from different cultures, Eastern culture and Western culture, discussing and writing a research paper about something that's very, can be very relatively different because of the culture aspect. I think it was very eye-opening. And as Felipe said, there was so many challenges with the internet, of course, and the time zones and the different zones and everything. But we managed to do it. Congratulations, everyone. And I don't want to speak anymore, but to leave the floor for other people. I know the time is running. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your effort, and congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lubna. Thank you so much. I guess now if Louisa wants to speak.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Can me now? I don't know if my internet is working. Is it all right? Oh, perfect. First of all, thank you. And Aya, Lavna, especially because we work together. And as Lavna said, Felipe covered, I think, everything from the paper itself. But I'm gonna bring some points that I think marked me a lot during the process. First is that we got to grow as people and as researchers, and the time we had this almost 2 years of writing process, which is amazing. Now I'm overjoyed by Lavna sharing her achievements, and it's so amazing to hear. And also I think that for those 26 pages of articles, I'm sure each one of us read at least hundreds of pages to write it. So the thing that we put on the paper is just a little bit of what we research, and it's really amazing to see this process of getting knowledge and getting to grow as people. And also, I think that as we wrote the paper and as we researched about cultural property, we get to see that it's not only, I guess, objects that we first thought, but also how people identify, and it got to a whole new level of importance. I think not only like for me, but for everyone in this group. And it fueled many conversations we had. And also as a point, like we in Brazil, we speak Portuguese. Labna, Aya, Dina I speak Arabic, and we wrote a paper in English. So I think that's just fantastic, really amazing. And I think lastly, what I have to say, one of the main points is that reading the paper again now, it's just so amazing because we get to see almost a genealogy of the thought of how protection changed during time. And seeing that we could do that is just so amazing because we as young researchers, and as Felipe said, we don't have all the support, the financial support, and also the teaching and everything, and materials like as well, because I don't know, many times you have to read books that are like paid and everything. And we got to this point. So again, thank you very much, Nurham, Labna, Aya, Dina, Felipe, and Luisa. She had to leave, but yes, and that's it. Thank you, girls, so much. And Felipe.
Thank you so much, Louisa. Thank you so much for sharing this. I don't know if Dina is around.
I think Dina has an issue with the internet connection, so
Yeah.
she's just thanking you, everyone. Like she's saying thank you for everyone. Like,
And please introduce to all audience about Dina and she experience to all audience to know Dina, because she have the problem in internet and she very excited to festival for this.
Yes. Sure. Dina was one of our core researchers. She's a graduate from the Faculty of Law, Mansoura University, English section. She was an intern at Maat for Peace and Human Rights, for sure. She was a Middle East research and investigation intern at at Physicians for Human Rights. Dina also participated in 3 international moot court competitions: Price Media Moot Court, Oxford, the Philippe Jasseb International Moot Court, and the Nuremberg Moot Court. She's an amazing researcher and an amazing person. Yeah. Okay, we're definitely running out of time. I don't know if the other Luisa wants to share anything. We all
forget Luisa.
Okay. She already shared.
Had to leave due to family problems, but that's all right.
Okay. Okay. Just let me. Since no one else is around, I will just introduce myself a bit and very shortly, and then I will talk about things that I encountered during the research as one of the researchers and a bit of the coordination part. I am Aya Ghazi. I am a Master's of Law student in the American University in Cairo. In comparative, I study international law, public international law, and comparative law. I worked as a legal researcher, mainly concerned with international humanitarian law in Maat for a year, and then I worked as a humanitarian worker in the Catholic Relief Services here in Egypt, CRS, mainly working with the refugee community in Egypt. And that's it. Felipe and Lubna and Luisa, they all covered basically most of everything. I will just a bit focus on the a bit of my personal part, and the obstacles that we faced as humans while encountering this, while actually conducting this research from a very human perspective, perhaps. I guess the things that one of the obstacles that we face, that we all come from a very different academic background. It was quite hard at the beginning to understand the concepts that we're using, even though that we're all law students. It's quite strange how things and words that we use are actually totally different. Like, for example, we use case study for like mentioning a simple example where case study is actually from like different background, is an actual conducted all inclusive research, and that was one of the things that we discovered along the way. And that was not easy because, like, aside from the importance of the research itself, aside from the importance of the protection of cultural property and the importance of researching complex legal issues when it comes to international humanitarian law, it was the difference in culture and the cultural difference and the academic background difference as law students that was also very challenging and very impressive, as we're all like, we come from basically the same age and basically have the same passion about the same thing. And frankly enough, things were a bit hard, and looking now for the outcome, like seeing all of this coming together, it was extremely fruitful, and I am so grateful for having Felipe, Louisa, Lubna, and everyone sharing, was so patiently sharing and going through like midnight meetings and very early morning meetings, because of the time difference and the academic background also. Like, we struggled a bit, and they helped us like a lot with the academic difference. Like in different university education, we didn't really understand, we didn't really study public international law, and Maat was very generous with the sessions that we had, and the university and the IHL clinic were very generous with sharing different meetings with different, including Julia. She's not here right now, but she was an amazing person who shared a lot of things with us. And personally, I am very grateful that we had the time to do this together. And I'm very grateful that you were all very patient, and we were very patient, like, to share this together and finally work on the outcome from different, like, literally hundreds of miles away. And that was literally amazing. The amount of commitment that we had, the amount of time, work, and everything. I know, like, I get a bit emotional, and this is exactly how I feel. And thank you. Yeah, 3 a.m. meetings, definitely, yeah. Thank you so much. I have nothing else to share, and I hope the researchers will somehow keep in touch, and I'm very grateful for the connections that we made and all the people. Thank you for all the speakers, Karen, Professor Ibne, and everyone. And thank you, especially Nurhan. Thank you so much. And that's it.
More emotionally now, but I'm so proud for this. And yes, we finish our research, and we will publish it during this week, and we will share with all audience today to read our effort for this. Thank you, Lubna, Dina, Aya, Louisa, Philippe. Philippe is one man in all the girl.
Actually non-binary, so no man was involved in the production of this research.
Yes, it's gender equality. And also Isabella, she worked hard to engage for this conference, and thank you so much, IHL Clinic, Karen, Professor Ibne, Monia Ammar. Thank you for all joining today to listen for us. Thank you for students from Karabakh to join to share the story. Thank you for Syria, Libya, Iraq, Yemen. It makes us that more responsibility to work hard in the future. And we end the day, and thank you for all. Goodbye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you for
Bye.
everything, everyone.
Thank you.